Star Trek Lower Decks Review, Season 4, Episode 1.
Okay, before I forget, who is Dr. Chaotica?
Dr.
Professor,
Chaotica
whatever.
was the hollow novel character that was the master to Tom Paris's Captain Proton. He was the nemesis of Captain Proton, Tom Paris's character that he liked to play on the holodeck.
Oh, okay.
And that you know that other one, the clown one?
Yeah.
That one technically shouldn't apply because that clown thing was a self-sustained hollow matrix on a different planet. They had come across a planet where the entire species was asleep, and they found out that the species was trapped there by this holographic clown circus thing, like a circus from hell type thing. And so they did use they put Janeway in there as kind of a hostage, so that if everybody left, they would cease to exist, and the holograms didn't want to cease to exist. So it's like, well, you could have the captain instead. And it turned out it wasn't actually the captain, it was the EMH, because he just but anyways, they were holding the crew hostage, but they were in a self-contained hollow matrix on a planet. It wasn't part of the Voyager's hollow matrix. They used technology from the Voyager's hollow matrix to attach to it, but it wasn't on Voyager. It was on the planet.
Voyager gets weird.
And I guess I should ask, who is the knockoff Indiana Jones?
Knockoff Indiana Jones? Oh, he was Janeway's love interest, because Janeway couldn't actually go for anybody of the crew, but even captains get lonely. I mean, look at all the chicks Picard banged. But not even kidding.
But yeah, she had a hollow program, and
Tom Paris created a open door hollow novel, which was kind of like a way to escape. It was called Fairhaven, and that thing was running 24/7. Anybody can just pop in, get a drink, kind of a 10 forward type thing, but in old Ireland, as a way to escape the chaos of the Delta Quadrant.
And also to get some greenery, because you're looking at essentially an office building the entire day. I mean, seriously. A cool looking office building, but an office building all day. So
they did have a hydroponic bay.
Yeah, but for the most part, your space, which is mostly just black with a few dots, which is cool for about the first few months, but then I imagine it loses some of its punch. And then
so it was a nice escape from all that shit.
Yeah, so it just gave them something different to look at that wasn't space or
and it was a
inside
nice
the ship.
Steady. It was a nice steady thing, but he was the bartender, and Janeway kind of had a thing for him, and so she deleted his wife and made so many alterations, and it was like, she basically cookie cut him to fit her personality.
Damn, Janeway wanted it bad.
I mean, trapped 70 years in the Delta Quadrant. Suppose it was when they were there, it's like, we got 70 years to get home. She aside from the occasional kirking around with some locals, she didn't really have many options.
So how does one get trapped in the Delta Quadrant when you have ships that go super fast?
Well, there was a dude called the Caretaker who had these almost not quite Q-like powers, but he was supposed to keep an eye on this race called the Okampas, who are these childlike race who's super innocent and the evil, cruel Delta Quadrant. And so they were watching over it. But he was getting old and dying, so he needed somebody to take over for him. And so he was summoning random ships from around the galaxy to try to find somebody to take his place. Unfortunately, they couldn't use that slingshot to go back home, because if they did, it would still exist, and the evil Herodians and marauders from the Delta Quadrant could use that to try to steal the supplies and resources that the Okampas had. So they destroyed it and had to walk home, basically.
So even at speed, it was going to take 70 years. That's how big the galaxy is, and that's an idea of how fast they are.
So we are in the Alpha Quadrant. We are at the far corner of the Alpha Quadrant. We are on the far arm of the galaxy.
It depends on
It was on the other arm. It was on the opposite side, kitty corner of the galaxy.
Yeah.
So they had to go all the way across the galaxy to get home.
Damn, that far away, no Netflix.
Seriously. Hey, they had a holodeck.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and whatever they had with them. But
then they had the macrophages.
Yeah, everything in this episode, almost everything, is just a direct reference. This is Voyager, the references. Like,
this is basically, how a season or two ago they had the DS9 episode. This is the Voyager episode.
Yeah, everything is a reference. It's something.
There was a reference in there that was not Voyager.
Yeah.
That Pike thing we're not supposed to talk about.
Oh yeah, that. But most of the, almost everything else, if it looks weird and it's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's probably a Voyager reference. It's probably an episode. Like the whole salamander thing, that's a reference. We don't want to talk about that reference, but it is a reference.
I love the fact that they even make reference in other things about the salamander things. Like, we don't talk about that. Because, Tom Paris found they designed a way to go warp 10, which warp 10 is basically beyond what you're supposed to be able to go to, because warp 9.999 is the extent you can go to. You cannot beat warp 10. It's kind of like trying to get faster than light, because technically warp is not going faster than light. It's manipulating space using gravitational waves instead of manipulating light, going faster than light. Kind of like being able to go faster than light by, technically we're going faster than light because the light is going through a different medium. So you can move faster than light if you put the light through a different medium. So they were trying to reach the light speed barrier, and he managed, but it started mutating him. And he turned into a giant salamander. But before he turned into a giant salamander, he kidnapped Janeway and made her go faster than light to mutate her too. And then they landed on this planet and had little salamander babies. But then Voyager picked them up and demutated them. And it's like, no, it
And
never happens.
I don't think anybody ever references it again
Yeah.
in the series. It's one of those just sort of black hole of an episode. It's weird and nobody likes talking about it.
So it's
Yeah.
possible that they have little tiny
Oh, there are little
grandbaby
tiny.
salamanders.
Oh yeah, they definitely do somewhere on that far off planet.
Yeah, it
That
depends on
is.
how many of it depends on when you're looking at it. You know, at the point of this, which is just a little bit after Voyager came home, from what I remember, this isn't it's after Voyager, but not like a billion years after Voyager.
I think it was like 10, 20 years after Voyager, something like that, if
Whatever
I
it
remember
was,
correctly.
so assuming that they reproduced and thrived on that planet, yes, there are little Janeway Paris salamanders on that planet. But
Oh my god, imagine if they became sentient and started their own civilization.
They probably could. Okay, so Lower Decks takes place in 2380s. So let's see. Um, Lower Decks takes place 2 years after, 1 year after Star Trek Nemesis, and 2 years after Voyager returns, is when Lower Decks starts.
so it
So
might have been a few years now.
yeah, it's been about between 5 and 10 years since Voyager returned.
Yeah, so yeah, it's it's a thing. It's a
So
thing. Yeah, and the cheese thing. Yeah, was that the
yeah,
one that they
that
got the okay, so part of Voyager's unique features were that, because this was supposed to be, it kind of was doing what it was supposed to be doing. It was supposed to be a deep exploration vessel, like long range science vessel. That was sort of what this thing was designed to do. And one of the things that was special about it was had what are called bioneural gel packs, so they would process better. It's an upgrade to the computer system.
yeah, it's kind of to make them able to think faster. It's kind of like putting a more modern RAM in there.
It's basically it allows it to
Gives it an organic
it
brain type
basically
thing.
improves the computer system. Well,
Yeah.
the thing about bioneural gel packs is that they are alive. And so they got infected with the spores from this cheese. And was that
Yeah.
the episode they had to give
Neelix.
give Voyager a fever in order to clear everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically
Something like that. Yeah, they basically Neelix Neelix was the chef slash morale officer slash pet of Voyager. He was like, that special ed kid, which I was in special ed, so I can say this. But that not exactly up to speed of everybody else, because everybody else is a scientist, is military, is like highly trained. And Neelix is just this puppy basically, where he's just like, he's trying, but he's not the smartest
yeah.
bulb, and he's not the brightest
He
bulb
knows
in the
some things. He's useful in some intellectual ways in that he knows a lot more about the Delta Quadrant than
yeah,
the
he
Voyager
is
crew.
wo-
And
he
he's a
is
decent cook.
vocal.
He's a decent cook. He knows the quadrant.
I don't know about decent cook.
Well, he's decent enough that they didn't immediately throw him out the airlock.
That
Like there
is
may be some
fair.
things they didn't like, but they didn't replace him. Like
Oh,
if he was like
Viola room.
really bad,
Oh.
like they would have just found literally anybody on the ship that could cook and just replaced him with them. Like it would have been. I'm sure
That
there's even
time
a
they
hollow
tried to-
program they could have probably, like they would have.
that time they tried to Tom Paris tried to cook. Now
it's
that
like,
was a
yeah, they would
disaster.
just try and find somebody with some cooking skills. Like somebody on that crew probably had some kind of cooking skills.
Okay,
Other
so Neelix is about Madrox level cooking skills. Tom Paris is my level cooking skills.
Excuse me? I'm sous chef level.
Well, there you go. You're
Thank you.
Neelix. Neelix was their chef because they couldn't rely on the replicators because that used too much energy. And they needed that energy to be able to go home. So they scavenged and they traded and all that. So they didn't rely on the replicators as much as they did on other ships.
Yeah, because if you're
Just
in
wanted
the
to
if
ask
you're in
if the replicators didn't exist then.
No, they did.
yeah, they're just
replicators-
energy intense, which is not a problem if you're near Earth. If you're already in the Federation and have access to the whole network of refueling ways, ways to
dilithium crystals and stuff and all that.
antimatter and all the stuff you need to fuel a starship. Like, there's lots of infrastructure back home, so it's not a problem. You can use replicators all you want because they're going to load on fuel anyway, so you can use it. And so, like, this was just, oh, well, we could just, we can save a lot of energy by just, cooking stuff
rationing
instead.
the replicator.
Rationing the replicator. We can save a lot of energy and put that energy more towards. And they didn't travel at max speed because you can't do that. It's harder on the engines and it's probably not as fuel efficient. So they were also not traveling at max warp. They were at their kind of cruising warp.
Well, true, and also this another way they could have saved energy is like give it one good burst of max speed, right? And then just like turn off the engines because how space works, the ship will just
no, that's not how warp works.
Yeah, warp is not moving.
I didn't say warp.
Space.
I just meant the engines at full speed.
That wouldn't have done anything.
Impulse engines do not go that fast.
They're not even close.
And basically, what warp is, it is creating a gravitational field around the ship that bends space around it. So it shrinks the space between locations, which is why you can't go into warp in a star system, because it's affected by the gravity of the planets and the star, or stars if it's a binary. But what happens is it's full crumpling space around it. So it's have you ever had your hoodie string or a drawstring pulled out of the little sleeve and you have to crunch it up in order to get the drawstring through?
God, that's annoying, but yes.
That is basically what warp is doing. It is folding, it is crumpling the space so the space is smaller between, so that you can go from point A to point B easier.
Yeah. And then if you deactivate the warp bubble, you're just going to stop.
Yeah, if you that's why they're able to stop so fast. And why they need inertial dampeners, because you are basically crumple, and when you stop, whing, springs back.
So in other words, they didn't think it was smart enough to install some regular rockets too.
They have maneuvering thrusters. They have kind of 3 layers to their maneuvering. There's warp, that's for high speed. Impulse, that's fast, but it's within it's not warp fast, but it's fast within a system. It's how you get around a system.
It is fast for sublight speed.
Yeah.
And then there is
maneuvering thrusters.
Maneuvering thrusters,
which that's just for like getting in and out of docks.
Yeah. Those are just like the tiny little rocket thrusters.
Now, what do they use for ridiculous speed?
They don't. Although I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure the salamanders are what happens when you go to Ludicrous.
Yeah, and there's some stuff like there's some other experimental stuff like quantum slipstream and transwarp, but that's a
Yeah.
whole other kettle of fish,
And
and we don't
those
have
you
time to
deal
go
with,
into that.
and you're dealing with the Borg on the transwarp conduits. So let's not no.
No.
That's why there was Borg tech on Voyager, because of 7 of 9 and the whole Scorpion fiasco.
Yeah,
Speaking of
this review is turning into let's teach Madrock about Voyager.
Yeah.
speaking of Borg, that Borgmite was cute.
It was. I want a plushie of it now.
I do too.
We are.
Which it's kind of terrifying if it's an assimilated megavirus, like, and it replicates macrovirus. It's macrovirus.
Yeah.
It's because if you think about it, it's assimilated and it can replicate relatively quickly. Like,
I mean, the nano tech of the Borg nanotech replicates really fast too.
yeah, but this thing, you can just throw one of these things on a ship, and if they don't catch it immediately, oh yeah, this is assimilating everything. And it's also replicating not only the nanites, but also the nanoprobes, but also the thing itself is replicating.
And if you have the gel like Voyager did, you could assimilate the entire ship.
Oh god.
Well, you can
have a Borg made your ship could be assimilated too.
Didn't First Contact, wasn't that basically what was going on First Contact? Were they assimilating?
I think First Contact, they went back in time to try to stop.
Yeah, but weren't they also on the Enterprise trying to assimilate it? It's been a very long time since I watched First Contact.
Same.
But
I remember that they gave Data human skin graft, like bioskin, so because to try to make him able to feel, like give him tactile senses, more human-like, and they activated his emotion chip or gave him a new emotion chip or something, repaired it, whatever it was. And because I remember at the end of the movie, he slammed the thing and which would destroy anything organic, and because everybody else was out of the area, so it just killed all the Borg, because the Borg were organic and robotic, so
they were reliant upon their Borg things. And if you rip the Borg stuff out of a Borg without being careful about it, you'll just kill them. Which
is what happened to almost what happened to 7 of 9, which is why they needed in Voyager they needed Egypt's optical chip.
So
yeah,
that replicating parasite thing, whatever it's called, made me think of something.
Yeah.
So just out of theory, what would happen if you took like 10 or 12 tribbles and threw them onto a Borg ship?
I don't remember what it was, but I don't know how, but I have seen Borgified tribbles before. I don't remember what it was from. I'm pretty sure I don't remember where it was from, but I've seen Borgified tribbles before. It is just, oh gosh.
I know there's some in-game Borgified triples. I know those exist.
Yeah, it might have been either a meme from the game, or I thought it was from Lower Decks, but it could have been from the game.
Oh yeah, there's loads of tribbles. That's one of the things they love to do with the MMO is make tribbles of all the different things. and rainbow tribbles and Borg tribbles and all sorts of flavors of tribbles. And you can breed tribbles. There's a whole system of breeding tribbles.
Yeah, but I mean, technically, you can breed tribbles just by feeding them.
Oh,
They're
but
like
you can breed
gremlins.
specific types of tribbles.
Oh, kind of like
like different breeds. Like different breeds of tribble. You put this tribble with this tribble in your bank with food. They will produce a new tribble.
But tribbles are asexual reproduction.
Hey, that's that's the way they
Tribbles
do.
reproduce asexually because they are born pregnant.
Hey, I don't look at me. That's the way it's. I think that's how it works.
Asexual, exponential reproduction. That is that is why tribbles are so terrifying, because they can reproduce and destroy. They're like locusts. They're like cute, fluffy locusts.
Maybe, well, maybe they're born pregnant, but like they can also if enough of them get together, they can also sexually reproduce after that first pregnancy is done. Like they can sexually reproduce amongst each other as well. Like they're always going to produce more of them asexually, but once you have enough of them, they will sexually reproduce.
Or the game's just fucked up.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. I can only imagine like they would be really annoying to the Borg.
Besides, the Borg only add.
Yeah, they don't
that will help them.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I'm just thinking of the tribbles keep on reproducing and overwhelming them.
Yeah. Oh, you mean have the tribbles destroy a Borg ship by just.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's funny.
That's probably what would happen, actually. Although there isn't really any food for tribbles on a Borg ship because the Borg don't eat; they regenerate.
True.
Yeah. But at any rate, let's see what else.
Everybody except Rutherford are now lieutenants.
You know, honestly, I think Rutherford should have also got a promotion. Not for what he did there, but he kind of saved the day from, the evil spaceship AI thing.
I would suspect that one of the things we're going to see this season is probably sometime we get promoted for fixing things, not breaking things. I can imagine like maybe an episode or two in maybe episode 5 or 6. I don't know. Rutherford will do something extraordinary, and they'll go, "Oh, yeah, no, it'll make you a junior grade as well."
Or Rutherford is the Harry Kim of the group.
Oh no, poor Harry Kim.
Also, though, it's like, yay, nothing bad or evil thing is gonna happen.
You jinxed it, yeah.
At first, you think it's gonna be the Klingons. But no, it's a mysterious thing that you guys probably know what it is because you've seen Star Trek.
I'm not sure what it is.
No.
That's the thing. I'm not sure what it is.
No. Because
it looked a little like, I know it isn't, but it kind of looked like the Romulan like changey ship.
It kind of, from the lighting of it and the design of it, it almost looked changeling. Founder, like something from the Gamma Quadrant.
Did we ever see like all the changeling ships were always the Jem'Hadar? Did we ever see the? Did we ever see an actual changeling ship? Or
no, because they're just
gonna fly on the ships the Jem'Hadar use.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like it had a similar shape to that, except it didn't have the purple glow. But
yeah, it's kind of color coded. Dominion stuff is all purple, like that's their thing. They like purple, and so, or maybe that's just a function of how their tech works. But they're purple.
I think it's their engines. I think their engines just have a purple glow.
Yeah, it's just something that comes with Dominion tech. But yeah, we have no idea what that is.
Nope.
Like it
No.
could be, like they have to come up with something new because that's the whole kind of point I think of Lower Decks is to have something where you just you can put all the references and if you've watched like Doc and I watching this episode are like, oh, that thing from Voyager, oh, that thing from Voyager, or that thing from Voyager.
But at
In
the
order to
same
make something
time, they
surprising
said,
and scary
yeah.
or interesting, they have to kind of make something new.
Yeah.
So
The thing about Lower Decks is, yes, they fan service you to death, but at the same time, they're adding to the lore.
yeah,
They're taking things from different different things, different not continuities, but different series, and they are using it to kind of tie the lore together, like that episode with I forgot what they were called, but that race that was a bunch of different pieces. It was from the original series. It was that lady who was the inspector or whatever, split up because they were actually a hive that formed a person, and that
yeah,
was from the original series that they tied in with the Borg and a bunch of other more modern series.
yeah. It's such a fan servicey show that it attracts big Star Trek nerds. Okay. So if they want to do something sort of mysterious or surprising, like they have to do something sort of new or a twist on something that we haven't seen before. You know, because if this was just oh, there's that ship. Oh, I know what that is.
Exactly.
Like
I mean,
there would be no tension because or there would be tension but it would be less mysterious tension because like Doc and I might recognize it offhand. Like, oh, that's a Ferengi ship. Oh, that's a this ship or that ship. It's like I
yeah,
know what that is. Like
exactly.
that's not a mystery.
Especially with you and your online thing, like, because they have more ships in the online, I'm assuming, than I'd recognize just from being a fan of the series.
Oh yes,
The
they have basically if it's been in the show, there's a decent chance you can fly it. You might have to pay an arm and a leg to get it on some of them, but there's a decent chance you can fly it. Like any of the hero ships, done. Like they're all in game. Even the Protostar is in game, I think, at this point.
Wow.
So like if it's a hero ship, California class, you can do it. It's a gamble box ship, but you can do it. It's they're all the hero ships are available. Like even some really obscure crap is available. Like
Yeah,
and
so
stuff they've
if
made
you
up.
don't recognize it, then
Yeah,
then it's something
yeah,
new.
yeah. Heck, if you've heard anything about the Enterprise F, that was from the game. That was initially made for the game
Wow.
as the flagship for the game, and then they just went, "Oh, okay, well we'll just take that, and we'll just
We'll
make
just
that the
put it
F."
for-
And then and then so you saw it for like that long apparently in the show, and then like they showed it for like that long in the show, and then they got a new one, a new Enterprise. But yeah, so like they they've taken stuff from the games a little bit. Like they've taken a few ships from the games. I don't remember which ones I are right now, but they've stolen some of those models right out of the game. It's like, yeah, okay, we'll take that. You've already put all this effort into it because like it's the game is set in 2410, so it's far enough out that they can do it's like there's a whole new kind of it's not.
That's like 30 years out from Lower Decks.
Yeah. And so some of it doesn't make sense. That why is that ship here when that was supposed to be made in the 2400s? It doesn't make sense because they just took it and said screw it. Screw the timeline with the game. We're just going to take this cool ship and use it ourselves. And so
Fair enough.
yeah, there's a lot of screw it, it's cool, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Like you can get future ships in the games. Like, okay, that seems like temporal investigations might have a problem with that, but you can do it. It's something. It's rule of cool.
Can you get any of the ships from the 2900s?
Is that like the
Discovery?
the Jupiter
Discovery
J
is...
or not the Voyager J and all that? Yeah, you can get.
I'm not sure what it.
Yeah, you can get the ones with the floating nacelles. Yeah, you can get some of those. Like it's not everyone, but you can. I don't know that they have absolutely every one of those, but they do have. I know they have the Voyager J.
Because they had because that was from Discovery.
Yeah.
Because Discovery went into the future.
Oh, yeah. If they come up with a ship, like I think they already have the Enterprise G. What that is? That's already in game as a playable ship, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it is. It wouldn't shock me. But
we haven't even talked about the Twovix or whatever it's called.
Twovix.
Twovix.
Yeah, that's another salamander episode.
Not so much.
It's not as bad as the salamander episode, but it's kind of a Twovix. Yeah,
it's basically exactly what you saw. There was this orchid that they were bringing from the planet's surface, and although it did give me one of my favorite jokes. If you are trapped on a planet with no food, an M-class planet with no food or no rations, and just a calendar, how do you survive?
Eat the dates.
Eat the dates and the Sundays.
I love it. It's like, so how much does your physical body remember?
How much physical memory do you have?
That expression is like,
yes. It's like, oh. I love the fact though that he was totally nonplussed about the fact that she's now a dude. It's just like,
ooh, I have both parts.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know how that worked because
we don't know.
They might be something in between.
Yeah, I mean, they were calling him, so
it's kind of weird. Usually when like two people or creatures or whatever like combine together, usually it's like two minds fight each other in one body, but this one is like a completely new entity.
Yes, well, that's what happens with Twovix. Twovix was a whole new person with incorporating characteristics from both Tuvok and Neelix.
That Janeway murdered.
And that's why they said Janeway murdered him, because he was his own person. He had his own identity.
It's like, your please mean nothing to me.
But in order to get Tuvok and Neelix back, they had to separate the Twovix. And why couldn't they just replicate him using the transporter? Because we know that can happen.
I was thinking of that too.
Like, and I'm pretty sure that if Tillips didn't go all psycho, which understandable, because
I thought the solution would be kill them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's understandable because that's what happened with Twovix. But they weren't in the Delta. They're not in the Delta Quadrant. They can go to a they can seek proper help, whereas
Yeah.
they're trapped in a completely foreign part of the galaxy with no one around to help. So she just did what she could. Although, I mean, there was a lot of moral ambiguity in that episode.
Yeah.
And, like, because on the one hand, you had Neelix and Tuvok needing to be separated because they were two different people. But on the other hand, you had this new person who actually was a much better cook than Neelix. So I don't know why they didn't keep Tuvix. Probably because it was a guest actor and they wanted to keep Tim Russ and Ethan Phillips. Probably the actors who played Tuvok and Neelix.
Yeah, which those two were completely opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of personality.
They really were, which was fun, which was why it was so awkward on the shuttle getting down there. Because when they went down to the planet, they took a shuttle, and Neelix is all chatty, trying to be friendly, and Tuvok was just like, "Shut up," and just like completely.
Tuvok was a Vulcan, so
he was very Vulcan about it.
Yeah,
and
so
Neelix is like, "Come on, you gotta lighten up." And it's like, no, I don't.
yeah, each of them was was basically, he's tactical and logical and not prone to the sort of jollies that Neelix was, and Neelix is just the opposite. He's gregarious. He's a cook.
He was the morale officer for a reason.
Yeah, and so like they're very different people, and then you just sort of squish them together.
So they made a pretty tempered person, honestly. Like, not tempered as in tempered as in like.
Oh yeah, I mean, like tempered glass.
Exactly.
Sturdy, strong.
Twovix was very mild. He wasn't all stoic. He wasn't all, he was just in the middle. But you had people who had relationships with those two. You had Kes, who was in a relationship with Neelix, like, I want Neelix back. And, Tuvok was her mentor. So that's just really awkward. And it's kind of.
And Tuvok is also married, if I remember correctly.
And Tuvok was married, which there was the whole Ponfar episode where Tom Paris had to create a holodeck character of Tuvok's wife in order to satiate that.
But hey, I bet after this, Starfleet learned their lesson to put scanners on the teleport bay that says, "Foreign material detected. Cannot send person to place."
One would hope.
Yeah.
But yeah. What else? Let's see. So we got the mysterious ending. We got the promotions, which was very funny with Mariner. It's like she's like, yeah, okay, I'm happy. Boimler got promoted. Cool. And Tendi got promoted. Cool. I like that. My friends are getting promotions, and they want the promotions. They're getting the promotions. Cool. And then he's like, Ransom's like, and also Mariner, and she's like, fuck.
I'm gonna be honest. I totally feel that. Like, I know what that's like.
It's completely in character for Mariner. It's like, I don't want this.
Although, did you notice the cute little squee she did? with the whole Voyager thing, and she was fangirling too.
That
It's
was
like
cute.
she was trying to make it look like she wasn't fangirling, but she was totally fangirling.
Well, I mean, it's Voyager.
Of course.
It's kind of
It's like,
badass.
yay, we're gonna
Yeah.
be friends. This is not what we take from this. Also, Tendi is fine with eradicating a life form as long as it's a giant blob with no sentience.
Well, I mean, I understand where she's coming from. Like the other one was, it was their own. It was its own. They were each of their own person, which created moral ambiguity. But then you have the,
The
that
blob.
blob where it has no personality, no identity. It is just a blob.
I am blob.
Yeah.
Blob is me.
So let's see. We've handled the Twovix plot. We've handled the promotions, the mystery ship, some background on Voyager, and some of the references.
I'm surprised they didn't put a coffee pot in there somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, considering
I mean,
they don't. Well, it would be in the galley because.
yeah, and the ready room.
Well, she just replicated it, really, didn't she? Like,
Well, no. Usually, Neelix brought her a pot of it
yeah,
because
I was,
they had the Kara,
yeah.
and
I
he,
suppose it would. You could put it in either the galley or her ready room. You could put it in
yeah.
both, and that would be both fine. Because that would be fitting either way.
Honestly,
As long as you
you know
have.
how they you know how they had all of the mannequins of them with like the uniforms. You needed a Janeway mannequin with a cup of coffee in the hand.
And I'm also just thinking about how they retrieved all, like, okay, the clothes they're wearing, okay, these were ship worn stuff. These were actual uniforms that they used. How awkward was that conversation when they got back to Earth? It's like,
Can I have your clothes?
can I have your clothes?
Nah,
Like,
they
that's
probably
an
just
awkward
donated them.
conversation. Like, you understand, we want a museum. We want the actual uniforms you wore because we're setting up a museum because people are going to want to know about this for centuries. This is going to be huge. So let's get those uniforms. You got a spare uniform you can throw me, and then like one you've worn while you're on Voyager, and then like
Oh yeah.
and then we can put
No,
that up.
they just donated them to Space Goodwill, then somebody bought them.
But I'm just thinking how awkward that is. Like, we want your clothes.
Like, we want your clothes.
They probably put it more
Oh.
delicately. It's like, we would like to preserve your clothes as they were on the ship, so that we can make a museum of Voyager. Like, because it's like there was nothing. I mean, technically, if they wanted to, they could have just sent Voyager right back out. But like, it's kind of a big deal. So
epic. That was
like,
an epic thing. Like,
yeah,
especially in the later seasons when they finally made that connection with Voyager, and it's like, we thought you were dead.
yeah.
You're all the way. Wait, whoa! Please tell me you're not reversing the charges on this. That is long distance, man.
It's like,
collect
we
calls.
want your clothes.
And to those of you who actually know what I'm talking about that on there, make sure you stretch because you're gonna have some back pains.
But
Yeah, they want their clothes. They want all of them underwear too.
I mean, with some of them, good luck, especially Harry, because I'm sure there's gonna be some stains. That poor Harry.
But yeah, the whole thing, just what they, I always wonder, like, it would be like, if they ever did a go back in time, I'm not sure what they would have to do. They would have to it would have to be something like Lower Decks, and they would have to go back in time. But I would love to see just a slice of time right after they got back, and what the hell they did for the next 6 months.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sure they all had like 2 years of leave that involved some debriefing,
some therapy,
and some therapy, some literal debriefing in the case of that museum guy, and a lot of R&R.
Okay, so I'm curious on something. So how long were they stuck in the Delta Quadrant again?
7 years.
7 years. Now, is that 7 years relative to like Starfleet main base, or 7 years to them?
They were in the Delta Quadrant for 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were 70 years away, but because of some time manipulation with Janeway, future Janeway,
hijinks ensued, and they got back a lot earlier than they were expecting.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically some hijinks ensued, and through some manipulations of Janeway, they managed to travel a very long distance in a very short amount of time with some very risky maneuvers. And so what should have taken the 70 years is how long it would have taken them to get home at their own speed. That's how long it would have taken if they did nothing but travel for just no shortcuts, no cutting years off the route by finding some little shortcut or something, or finding new technology or shortcut. If they just took the tech they had when they got flung in the Delta Quadrant and just took that and flew it straight home, that would be 70 years.
Okay.
And so they got done in 7 years, what should have taken 70, because of some creative technology use, some other things that I won't go into because it's spoilers for the finale. So, but essentially, yeah, they got home a lot earlier than they were expecting.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Let's see.
Doc went red. Wait, be right back.
Okay, so any other questions you got about
space? Why is it so big?
Because that's where all the stuff is. It has to be out some space for there to be stuff. No, it's just expanding. But yeah.
What was the question?
Oh, he was messing around. He was, space, why is it so big?
Yeah, it is constantly expanding, and it has a
in all the directions it can whiz.
Yes.
And there's a reference.
In all directions it
I think there was a lot to cover in references and
yes,
cool things that they did during this episode. Yeah, this is one of those very dense episodes where if you're a Voyager fan, this was massive. You could probably watch this 5 or 6 times and find some little something in there.
I've only watched it 3 times so far.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you'll still find some little reference or some little something in the background I know the people, like, based on the sort of writing they do and all the little Easter eggs they plant in the show, there's some love for the show. So there's got to be some of them that are like, I am super into Voyager and I'm going to plant as much crap into this. Oh, that reminds me, one of my favorite jokes of the episode is like, you got the sort of curator guy, and he's like, I think he was Regillian. Or it could be something else. I don't know. Anyway, he he's like, great. And now I gotta put a new exhibit in to cover this shit. It's like I was done, and now I gotta create a whole new
Hey,
exhibit.
I was about
cover
to say that
this
honestly, it was
nonsense.
nice of him to do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
but he's sort of obliged to do it. He like, I am the curator of the of Voyager. I've gotta get this right, and so like he's sort of it's not a, oh, that would be nice if I did that. It's, if I don't do it, I won't be doing a good. It won't be a good museum if I don't cover absolutely everything Voyager did. It won't be a good museum.
It kind of
It's like the
reminds me
cheese
of
thing is on this floor.
kind of reminds me of a Doctor Who episode, Ghostlight, where there is this alien who is a cataloger and cataloging all the different life in the universe, but life kept changing and growing and making more types of life. And so he got pissed off and he's like, I'm just going to delete everything so that my entire
That my
you know,
collection is complete.
my collection will be complete, because it can't be complete until all life stops evolving.
Sounds like a great guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've squeezed this thing for about all
Yeah.
it's worth, and taught Madrox some stuff about Star Trek.
Face.
We're teaching him every time, because there's always more.
Face.
Yeah, because the sheer amount of media you will already have to consume in order to understand half the references in Lower Decks is astounding. So
Like,
anybody who hasn't is going to be completely lost with all the references. But at least you get to look at all the story, because you don't have all the distractions of all the references.
That's what I appreciate about Lower Decks is, yes, there is a shit ton of fan service, but there's also unique storylines revolving around that fan service.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just, rehashing the thing. They tie it all together and they make a new story out of the old ones, which is nice.
Yeah, it's a very fan. It makes fans happy.
You might even say it's fantastic.
Fabulous.
Okay, and so with that out of the way, I think we're good.
I don't know. I'm still kind of evil.
Sweet.
All right.